I've built you a time machine. Sadly, you can't use it to go back and get the winning lottery numbers. Actually, it's a list that I wrote to a guy who was feeling defeated. He was fed up with losing fat, then regaining it back, having a hit or miss performance in training, and spending so much effort on his diet with very little to show for it. That guy was me back in 2019. If I'd had this list back then, I would have been able to maintain a leaner physique year round. I would perform much better in training, and I would have had a diet that requires very little effort or stress. So I made a list of things I've learned over the last 6 years that I wish I'd known when I first started out. So hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and you don't have to make the same mistakes as me, because I'm passing that knowledge on to you right now. Number one, the faster you lose weight, the greater the pressure is to rebound. If you find yourself going back to square one after every diet, there's a good chance you're losing weight too fast and too aggressively and too restrictively. Two, following on from that, aim to lose 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week, ideally towards the 0.5 end of that range. But if you have a lot of weight to lose, then you can go towards 1% per week. This hits that sweet spot of fast enough that it's motivating to see the scale drop, but not so fast that you're crashing and primed for a rebound at the end. Number three, eat salads to keep you full. But number four, don't make them soul-destroying salads. Add things like croutons, olives, cheese, nuts, seeds, fruits, and dressings to bring them to life a bit. Number five, rotate between a few key protein sources at your main meals, like chicken, beef, and eggs, for example. If you just have 3 to 5 to pick from, it helps reduce the decision fatigue. Number six, buying pre-marinated meat and fish is a great way to try different flavors that you might not normally make yourself if you're too lazy to do it yourself like I am. There are these black pepper beef skewers that I like getting, and I would never make the marinade myself, but the fact that I can just buy them, chuck them in the air fryer, and they're done, it helps keep the variety and means that I'm eating foods that taste delicious every day without a lot of effort or complex recipes. Number seven, pick a few carb sources and rotate between them at your main meals, for example, rice, bread, and pasta. Number eight, I recommend always having a couple of backup healthier ready meals available in your freezer. You get home from a long day of work or training, you know, okay, you can just whack them in the microwave and you have a relatively healthy meal. It's much better than having nothing and ending up ordering a takeaway. Number nine, do small grocery shops every few days if you feel overwhelmed by doing a huge weekly shop. For me personally, I used to try to do one big shop, one huge meal prep session per week, and it was just so overwhelming. After a few days, I'd be bored of the food. Now I take things on a 2 to 3 days at a time basis, and it's much easier. I don't feel overwhelmed. I'm eating different meals every couple of days, and I don't get bored and end up throwing the diet out the window. Number 10, you don't need to meal prep, but if you prep your proteins, for example, stirring up some beef mince or air frying some chicken breasts, storing them in the freezer means you're never more than 5 or 10 minutes away from a healthy, balanced meal if you pair them with some microwave rice or a whole grain wrap and some salad or frozen veggies. Number 11, buy a rotisserie chicken, take it home, pull it apart and shred it. That gives you normally about 500 to 600 grams of meat, which is 150 grams of protein, and you can just grab it and add to your meals as and when needed. Number 12, always have a meal or snack within 1 to 4 hours before training. Number 13, some great pre-training meals could be honey or jam on toast, cereal with fruit and milk, or oats. Number 14, eat 400 grams of fruit and veg or more per day, and you could easily hit pretty much that with a large salad and a piece of fruit. Number 15, I finally ended up getting a Ninja Creami, and for me, it does live up to the hype. But I got it on a huge discount. I wouldn't say it's worth it for the full price, but if you can find it with a decent sale, then get your hands on it. Number 16, genetics play a huge role in how you look. Not just your day-to-day baseline state, but how you look at different body fat percentages. Some people can have a pretty decent six-pack at like 15% body fat. Others need to get sub 10% before they can start seeing their abs clearly. That's using male body fat percentages. Number 17, most of the most impressive physiques you see on Instagram are enhanced, i.e. using steroids or other performance-enhancing drugs. So don't compare yourself to the bodies you tend to see on Instagram, because it's always the most extreme ones that will show up in your feed. Number 18, you don't need any supplements, but number 19, if you do want to buy some caffeine, creatine, whey protein, beta-alanine, fish oil, vitamin D, and maybe a multivitamin are probably the best bang for your buck. 20, if you're training hard twice a day, a midday nap between those sessions is essential for recovery. 21, caffeine pills are great for training performance, not so great for sleep though. So be careful with dose and timing, and ideally avoid them after about 3 p.m. 22, take 5 grams of creatine monohydrate every day. Don't worry about the extra weight, it's from water within your muscles, and that's a small trade-off for the strength and power benefits you're going to get as a result. Number 23, if you want to lose weight, eliminate liquid calories and snacking outside of your main meals. Most people probably don't need to do anything more than that. 24, you can eat less on rest days if you want to, but don't make the mistake many athletes make where they really cut their calories back and they end up starving on rest days, because most people actually feel hungrier on rest days because they haven't got the training. Especially aerobic training like combat sports can actually reduce your appetite a bit. So when you take that away, you can have an increased appetite, as well as the fact that you haven't got like, multiple hours a day where you're out at the gym. On a rest day, you're mostly just sitting at home recovering, and you're never too far from the kitchen. That means people can be more hungry, more liable to snack. So don't cut your calories on rest days. You can reduce them a bit, but only if you want to. It's not necessary, and most of my clients don't. 25, if athletic performance is your primary goal, then eating breakfast is a good idea. But if you do prefer to skip or delay it and you're still performing well, then that's fine. Number 26, don't adjust your diet based on comments about your body. It's sad, but it's pretty common for someone to make a negative comment and then to feel like you need to slash your calories as a result to lose fat faster. Often this ends up backfiring and you end up just being fed up and burned out after a few days, so ignore the haters. 27, if you have a time-bound goal, for example, making weight for a fight, then tracking your food can be a good idea. I recommend an app called Cronometer. It just helps reduce a little bit of the guesswork. Number 8, you should still take time to practice eating intuitively without tracking. I recommend about every 8 to 12 weeks to spend at least 1 week taking a diet break without tracking your food, just to practice eating like a normal, healthy adult, and to practice life at maintenance, i.e. living around your maintenance calories, eating portions that maintain your weight without having to track every gram of food. Number 29, weigh yourself daily, or at least most days, and then take a weekly average and only use that weekly average to assess your progress. Everyone's weight goes up and down across the week. Take the average, it flattens out those fluctuations, and then use that to judge your progress. The daily numbers do not matter, they're just a means to an end, that end being the weekly average. Number 30, when you do weigh yourself, make sure it's in the morning after waking up and going for a pee. Step on the scales, and that's the only time you ever need to weigh yourself. Don't weigh yourself at other times of day. I commonly see athletes say, well, I was 70 kilograms in the morning, but I was 68 after training. You haven't lost any fat, you're just dehydrated. So only weigh yourself in the morning. Don't worry about what your weight is at other times of day. 31, aim to eat 30 or more grams of fiber per day. Oats, beans, lentils, legumes, avocado, chia and flax seeds, raspberries, popcorn, peas, broccoli, oranges, sweet potatoes, and whole wheat pasta are all very high fiber. 32, if you're tracking your food, save yourself the stress and only aim for a calorie and a protein target. Don't worry about carbs and fats in 95% of cases. As long as you're eating a balanced diet, the way they naturally fall out is totally fine. Number 33, the view of your own stomach, looking down at it like that, barely changes, unless you're losing a huge amount of weight. But going from, say, 15% to 10% body fat, the difference from your own point of view really is not that much. And looking down at this angle, you're never gonna look great. To overcome this, take progress pictures. About every month is a good frequency to do that. 34, take a once weekly waist measurement on waking, so wake up when you step on the scales. Also, wrap a tape measure around your waist, around the belly button level, and record it to the nearest 0.1 centimeters. If this is dropping, then you are losing fat regardless of what the scale says. You might be losing fat but holding weight from water. You might be losing fat but gaining a little bit of muscle. If your waist measurement is reducing week on week, then you're losing fat. Number 35, you don't need more information. If you did, ChatGPT and just random one-off meal plans would solve your issue. You don't have an information problem, you have an implementation problem. That's why people succeed when they hire someone like me. It's not the information that we're gatekeeping something important that I'm never giving out on social media. It's all the same information. The difference is accountability, emotional intelligence, and support, as well as a personalized plan. And 36, you don't need a meal plan is absolutely not the solution to your problem. Sure, they can help for a bit of inspiration, but for a long-term sustainable approach, you need a flexible plan with a few simple options you can rotate between for each meal, not a rigid meal plan. Number 37, try to make your diet so simple it's almost impossible not to stick to it. And 38, in order to simplify your diet, forget complex recipes. Pair a protein, carbohydrate, fat, and fiber source, so either fruit or veggies, with any herbs and spices and a low-calorie sauce or dressing to build your meals. Follow that framework and you'll never need to rely on a complex recipe. 39, eat the same number of meals each day at roughly the same times. I like about 4 meals or feedings, breakfast, lunch, an afternoon snack, and dinner. It works for me and it works for many of my clients. 40, plan 1 meal out per week. Enjoy it, but don't go crazy. This means you learn to factor in meals out, regardless of whether you're dieting or not, so you don't go on an 8-week diet with no meals out and just feel so restricted that by the end, all you want to do is eat pizza and burgers every day. 41, there are no shortcuts. I truly wish there were. I spent years thinking, okay, this is going to be the hack. This is the next hack. There aren't any hacks. You likely know what works already. You just need to find a way to implement it consistently enough to get results. And on that note, 42, if you see something about nutrition on social media or anything in general that shocks you, then be skeptical, because the things that actually work are most likely things you already know. Number 43, if you have any hard sessions that are over 90 minutes, drink a sports drink during. It will help you push harder for longer and stop you tailing off in the second half of the session. Number 44, drink a large glass of water with each meal. You'll hydrate better, be more full from your meal, and you'll avoid overeating by mistaking the sensation of thirst as hunger. Number 45, eat something every 3 to 5 hours. Number 46, that typically works out about 4 feedings per day: breakfast, lunch, pre-training snack, and dinner. Like I mentioned, you could have just breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You could have breakfast, lunch, and dinner and 2 snacks, but I find breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner works well. Number 47, breakfast ideas could be overnight oats or porridge, fruit with yogurt and muesli or granola, or a protein smoothie. Number 48, lunch ideas could be scrambled eggs or an omelette on toast, a chicken salad wrap, or a tuna pasta salad. 49, some pre-training snack ideas: cereal with low-fat milk, banana, peanut butter, and honey on toast, or on rice cakes, or protein oats. 50, dinner ideas. Stick with me, folks, we're nearly there. Beef stir-fried rice, salmon with sweet potato, or cod with new potatoes, and a side of steamed veg for each of those. Number 51, if you're feeling overwhelmed by food preparation and decisions, try scaling it back to just 3 meals per day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Fewer meals means fewer decisions, which means fewer chances for things to go wrong. 52, some time-saving hacks I've found: microwave rice, rotisserie chicken, salad, frozen veg, canned lentils, beans, and chickpeas, and instant oats. 53, people misunderstand clean eating and sports performance. Your main meals should be made up of mostly whole foods, but your pre-training snack, especially if it's within 2 hours or less before training, should have some fast-digesting processed carbs like cereal, honey, jam, cereal bars, white bread, or rice cakes. If you're eating more like 3 to 4 hours before training, you don't need to worry about that so much, but 2 hours or less, you want those carbs to get broken down into your blood, into your muscles, and into your liver fast. A coffee break before the last 6. 54, consistently eating pretty healthy is a million times better than being super strict and restrictive in the week and then going wild at the weekends. 55, low calorie density foods make fat loss much easier. Things like cucumber, courgette, lettuce, tomatoes, spinach, celery, strawberry, raspberries, blueberries, watermelon, broccoli, cauliflower, basically fruit and vegetables. 56, mental stress takes as much as a toll on your physical recovery as physical stress does. Get off social media when you're trying to rest and recharge. Go for a walk, read a book, watch TV, or take a nap. 57, if performance is a key goal of yours, which if you're watching this video, it probably is, eat at least 3 grams per kilogram of your body weight of carbs every day. If you're 70 kilograms, that's a daily minimum of 210 grams of carbs to fuel performance. Number 58, don't ban any foods during your diet. You'll just binge on them 3 times as hard once the diet is over. Keep some treats in your diet to maintain sanity. A good rule of thumb is 10 to 20% of your daily calorie allowance can be from whatever foods you enjoy. 59, and finally, stay away from social media food porn. If your Explore feed is full of the most horrendous, outrageous junk food when dieting, that's a surefire sign that you're going to go wild once the diet ends. Take that as an early sign, reduce the aggressiveness, plan in some treats, whether that's cooking healthier fakeaway versions of those foods you're craving, allowing yourself 1 meal out per week for a little bit of freedom, or increasing your calorie targets and accepting a slower rate of weight loss. Yes, it's a trade-off, but it means you'll actually be much more likely to sustain your results once you hit your goal weight, rather than just loosening the reins, everything blows up, and a week or 2 you're back to your starting weight. If someone had taught me these lessons 5 or 6 years ago, I would have had a lot easier time and a lot less stress. So hopefully you have an easier time and less stress as a result of watching this video. If you like these list style videos, I did do another video explaining everything I've learned from training Muay Thai and fighting for 5 years in Thailand. So you can watch it there if you want. There'll be links to all my free and paid stuff below, including a performance nutrition blueprint, fighter diet setup guide, and how you can work with me one-on-one. Any questions, pop them in the comments. I'll catch you in the next one.